A Big Secret. The Persian Empire Explained. Part 3a. Alexander the Great invades Persia. Chapter 42. A New Challenger. For more than 2 centuries, the Persian Empire had ruled the ancient world. Its kings commanded enormous armies. Its cities overflowed with wealth. Its roads connected 3 continents. To many people, Persia seemed unstoppable. But far to the west, in the rugged kingdom of Macedon, a young king dreamed of doing the impossible. His name was strong Alexander III of Macedon. History would remember him by another name, Alexander the Great. At just 20 years old, Alexander inherited the throne after the assassination of his father, Philip II. Many believed the young king was too inexperienced to rule. His enemies immediately rebelled. Greek cities attempted to regain their independence. Neighboring tribes invaded Macedonia's borders. Alexander acted with breathtaking speed. Within months, he crushed every rebellion. The city of Thebes, once one of Greece's greatest powers, was destroyed after resisting him. The message was unmistakable. Alexander would tolerate no challenge to his authority. With Greece united beneath his command, he turned his eyes east, toward Persia. Chapter 43. Crossing into Asia. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander gathered an army of nearly 40,000 soldiers. Compared with Persia's vast military, his force appeared small. But it was exceptionally disciplined. A Macedonian strong phalanx, armed with massive strong sarissa spears, nearly 6 meters long, formed an almost impenetrable wall of steel. Alongside them rode the famous strong companion cavalry, personally led by Alexander himself. Crossing the Hellespont, Alexander symbolically entered Asia. According to ancient tradition, he visited the legendary city of Troy, honoring the heroes of the Trojan War. He believed he was following in the footsteps of Achilles. His campaign was more than a war of conquest. It was a mission to achieve everlasting glory. Chapter 44. The Battle of the Granicus. The Persian governors of Western Asia Minor underestimated Alexander. Rather than waiting for the great king Darius III to arrive with the main army, they decided to stop the invasion themselves. Their forces gathered beside the Granicus River. The river created a natural defensive barrier. The Persians believed Alexander would never attempt a direct attack. They were wrong. Without hesitation, Alexander led his cavalry straight into the rushing water. Arrows rained down upon the Macedonians. Persian horsemen charged. The fighting became chaotic. At one point, Alexander himself was nearly killed. A Persian noble struck his helmet with a powerful blow, nearly splitting it apart. Before another attack could land, Alexander's loyal companion Clytus the Black cut down the Persian warrior, saving the young king's life. Inspired by Alexander's courage, the Macedonian army pushed forward. The Persian line collapsed. The Battle of Granicus ended in a decisive Macedonian victory. Asia Minor now lay open before Alexander. Chapter 45. The Liberation of Greek Cities. As Alexander advanced south, many Greek cities under Persian control welcomed him. Some surrendered peacefully. Others resisted and were captured. Alexander declared that he had come not as a conqueror, but as the liberator of the Greek world. He removed Persian governors. He restored local governments. One city after another fell into his hands. The Persian Empire had suffered its first major setbacks. But the greatest confrontation was still ahead. Chapter 46. Darius III takes command. News of Alexander's victories reached the Persian capital. King Darius III could no longer ignore the invasion. Unlike the local governors defeated at Granicus, Darius commanded the full resources of the Persian Empire. He summoned soldiers from every corner of his kingdom. Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Egyptians, Bactrians, Scythians, and many others. The Persian army gathered in enormous numbers. This would not be another border skirmish. It would be a battle between the greatest empire on earth and one of history's greatest military commanders. Chapter 47, The Battle of Issus. In 333 BC, the two armies finally met near the town of Issus in southern Anatolia. Ironically, the narrow battlefield worked against Persia. Darius's larger army had little room to deploy. Alexander immediately recognized the opportunity. Leading his elite cavalry, he launched a fierce attack against the Persian left flank. Meanwhile, the Macedonian phalanx held the center. The battle raged for hours. Then Alexander spotted Darius himself. He charged directly toward the Persian king. As Macedonian through the Persian lines, panic spread. Fearing capture, Darius abandoned his royal chariot and fled the battlefield. The sight of their king escaping shattered Persian morale. The army dissolved into chaos. Another stunning victory belonged to Alexander. Chapter 48, The Royal Family. After the battle, Alexander captured Darius's royal camp. Inside were the Persian king's mother, wife, daughters, and young son. In the ancient world, royal prisoners were often treated harshly. But Alexander surprised everyone. He ordered that the royal family be treated with dignity and respect. They would receive protection, servants, and the honors appropriate to their status. When Darius's mother mistakenly bowed before Alexander's friend Hephaestion, Alexander smiled and replied, "He too is Alexander." The gesture demonstrated confidence rather than cruelty. It also helped convince many Persians that Alexander intended to become more than a conqueror. He intended to become their king. Chapter 49, The Road to Egypt. Although Darius offered peace and enormous treasures in exchange for ending the war, Alexander refused. He wanted the entire Persian Empire. Inging south, he captured the wealthy Phoenician ports that supplied the Persian navy. Only one city refused to surrender: Tyre. Built on an island just offshore, Tyre seemed impossible to capture. Alexander ordered the construction of a massive stone causeway across the sea. After 7 months of relentless siege, the city finally fell. It was one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world. With the eastern Mediterranean secured, Alexander entered Egypt. Unlike many conquered lands, Egypt welcomed him as a liberator from Persian rule. He was crowned pharaoh. He founded a new city that would bear his name, Alexandria. It would become one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. Chapter 50, The Final Battle. By the autumn of strong 331 BC, the fate of the Persian Empire rested on a single battle. King Strong, Darius III, had assembled one of the largest armies ever seen. Soldiers arrived from every corner of the empire. Persian cavalry, Median warriors, Bactrian horsemen, Indian troops, archers from Mesopotamia, and terrifying stave chariots, equipped with razor-sharp blades designed to cut through enemy formations. The battlefield chosen by Darius was a wide open plain near the village of Gaugamela, in present-day Iraq. Unlike the narrow battlefield at Issus, this ground had been carefully leveled, so the Persian cavalry and chariots could operate at full strength. Darius believed this was the perfect place to destroy Alexander once and for all. Alexander knew he was heavily outnumbered, but he trusted something more powerful than numbers: discipline, leadership, and strategy. H1, Chapter 51, The Battle of Gaugamela. Before sunrise, both armies stood silently facing one another. The tension was overwhelming. Alexander rode along his battle line, encouraging every soldier. He reminded them that they had already defeated Persia twice. Today would decide history. The battle began with a thunder of hooves. Persian cavalry charged from both wings. At the same time, the deadly scythed chariots raced toward the Macedonian phalanx. But Alexander had prepared for this moment. His soldiers opened gaps in their formation. Instead of crashing into solid ranks, the chariots passed harmlessly through the openings. Waiting troops surrounded them, killing the horses and capturing the drivers. One of Persia's greatest weapons had failed. Then Alexander saw an opportunity. A small gap had opened in the Persian center. Without hesitation, he gathered the elite companion cavalry and launched a direct charge. Like a spear piercing a shield, the Macedonians smashed through the Persian line. The charge headed straight toward King Darius himself. Chapter 52. The King Who Fled. As Alexander's cavalry drew closer, panic spread across the Persian center. Darius watched the enemy advancing toward him at incredible speed. He remembered the Battle of Issus. He knew what capture would mean. At the last moment, the Persian king turned his chariot and fled the battlefield. Once again, the sight of their king escaping shattered the morale of the Persian army. Confusion spread rapidly. Thousands of soldiers abandoned their positions. Others fought desperately, unaware that the battle had already been lost. Alexander had achieved the impossible. The greatest empire on earth had suffered a decisive defeat. Chapter 53. The Road to Babylon. Following the victory at Gaugamela, the gates of the Persian Empire stood open. Alexander marched into Babylon. Unlike many cities of the ancient world, Babylon surrendered peacefully. Its people welcomed him. Alexander respected the city's traditions and ordered that its temples be protected. From Babylon, he continued east toward the Persian capitals. One after another, the great cities surrendered. Susa, with its enormous royal treasury, fell without resistance. Inside its vaults lay mountains of gold and silver, accumulated over generations of Persian kings. The wealth was almost beyond imagination. Alexander now controlled the richest empire in history. Chapter 54. Persepolis. Only one city remained as the symbolic heart of the Persian Empire. Persepolis. Built by Darius the Great and expanded by other Persian monarchs, it stood as a testament to the empire's power. Xerxes. It represented 2 centuries of Persian glory. Its magnificent palaces stood upon a massive stone terrace. Towering columns supported grand audience halls. Stone reliefs showed delegates from every nation bringing gifts to the King of Kings. When Alexander entered Persepolis in early 330 BC, he stood inside one of the greatest architectural wonders of the ancient world. For his soldiers, it was the ultimate prize. For the Persians, it was the soul of their empire. Soon after the city's capture, tragedy struck. During a royal celebration, a great fire broke out inside the palace complex. Ancient historians disagree about exactly what happened. Some claimed Alexander deliberately ordered the palace burned as revenge for Xerxes' destruction of Athens decades earlier. Others believe the fire began during a drunken celebration and quickly spread beyond control. Whatever the cause, the result was devastating. Flames consumed magnificent halls, wooden roofs collapsed, beautiful decorations disappeared beneath smoke and ash. The capital that had symbolized Persian greatness for generations was left in ruins. Even today, historians continue to debate whether the destruction was planned or accidental. Chapter 55. The Burning of Persepolis. Soon after the city's capture, tragedy struck. During a royal celebration, a great fire broke out inside the palace complex. Ancient historians disagree about exactly what happened. Some claimed Alexander deliberately ordered the palace burned as revenge for Xerxes' destruction of Athens decades earlier. Others believe the fire began during a drunken celebration and quickly spread beyond control. Whatever the cause, the result was devastating. Flames consumed magnificent halls. Wooden roofs collapsed. Beautiful decorations disappeared beneath smoke and ash. The capital that had symbolized Persian greatness for generations was left in ruins. Even today, historians continue to debate whether the destruction was planned or accidental. Chapter 56. The Last Flight of Darius. Although Persepolis had fallen, King Darius III remained alive. He fled eastward, hoping to gather another army. Alexander pursued him relentlessly across mountains, deserts, and endless plains. But Darius's own nobles had begun to lose faith. One of his commanders, Bessus, betrayed him. The Persian king was arrested by his own followers. As Alexander's army drew near, the conspirators realized they could not escape. Rather than allowing Darius to be rescued, they stabbed him and abandoned him beside the road. When Alexander finally arrived, he found his greatest enemy dying. According to ancient accounts, Alexander covered Darius with his own royal cloak. The last king of kings soon died from his wounds. With Darius's death, the Achaemenid Persian Empire effectively came to an end. Chapter 57. A New King of Asia. Alexander did not see himself merely as Persia's conqueror. He believed he had become its rightful ruler. He adopted Persian royal clothing during official ceremonies. He kept many Persian governors in office. He welcomed Persian nobles into his administration. He even encouraged marriages between Macedonians and Persians in an attempt to unite the two cultures. Some of his own officers strongly opposed these changes. They believed Alexander was becoming too Persian. But Alexander dreamed of something greater than conquest. He envisioned a single empire where East and West would stand together. Chapter 58. The End of an Empire. With the death of strong Darius III, the Achaemenid Persian Empire, strong, officially came to an end. For more than 220 years, Persia had ruled the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen. Its kings had governed lands stretching from Egypt to the Indus River, connecting dozens of cultures under one administration. Now, that empire belonged to strong Alexander the Great. But conquering Persia proved easier than ruling it. Alexander quickly discovered that governing millions of people across 3 continents required more than military victories. It required the very administrative system the Persians had perfected. Instead of destroying Persian institutions, Alexander chose to preserve many of them. He kept experienced Persian officials in government. He continued using the empire's road network. He relied on Persian tax systems and provincial governors. In many ways, Alexander inherited the Persian Empire rather than replacing it. HR. Chapter 59. East meets West. Alexander believed that his empire should unite different cultures instead of separating them. He adopted elements of Persian royal dress. He participated in Persian court ceremonies. He encouraged marriages between Macedonian soldiers and Persian noblewomen. One of the most famous examples was his own marriage to Roxana, followed later by marriages into the Persian royal family. Many Macedonian officers disliked these policies. They believed Alexander was abandoning Greek traditions. But Alexander saw himself as ruler of both Europe and Asia. His dream was not simply conquest. It was unity. Although his vision was only partly realized, it marked one of history's earliest attempts to create a multicultural empire. HR. Chapter 60. The Death of Alexander. In strong 323 BC, after years of continuous campaigning, Alexander arrived in strong Babylon. He was only 32 years old. Then, without warning, he became seriously ill. After several days of fever, Alexander died. The exact cause remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Some historians suggest disease. Others have proposed poisoning, though convincing evidence has never been found. Alexander left behind no clear adult heir. Almost immediately, his generals began fighting over control of the empire. The vast kingdom fractured into several rival states. Yet throughout these struggles, many Persian administrative traditions survived. Chapter 61. Persia lives on. Although the Achaemenid Empire had fallen, Persian civilization did not disappear. Centuries later, new Persian dynasties rose to power. The Parthian Empire challenged the might of Rome for generations. It was followed by the Sasanian Empire, which became one of the greatest powers of late antiquity. Persian language, literature, architecture, science, and culture continued to influence the Middle East, Central Asia, and beyond. Empires came and went. Persia endured. Chapter 62: The Persian Legacy. The achievements of the Persian Empire reached far beyond its lifetime. Its system of provinces inspired later governments. Its network of roads influenced future transportation systems. Its postal service demonstrated how communication could unite distant lands. Its policy of respecting local cultures showed that an empire could govern through cooperation as well as military strength. The Persians also encouraged trade across thousands of kilometers. Ideas, goods, technologies, and cultures moved safely through their empire, connecting East and West in ways never seen before. Many historians regard the Persian Empire as one of history's first truly global civilizations. Chapter 63: The Wonders They Left Behind. Even today, the ruins of ancient Persia continue to inspire the world. The majestic columns of Persepolis still rise above the Iranian plain. The tomb of Cyrus the Great remains a symbol of one of history's most respected rulers. Ancient inscriptions carved into stone continue to reveal stories of kings, battles, and empires. Archaeologists still uncover artifacts that deepen our understanding of Persian life. Every discovery reminds us that Persia was more than a military power. It was a civilization of architects, engineers, artists, administrators, scholars, and visionaries. Chapter 64: Why the Persian Empire Matters. When people think about ancient history, they often remember Egypt, Greece, or Rome. Yet the Persian Empire changed the world in ways that are sometimes overlooked. It proved that people from different cultures, languages, and religions could live within a single political system. It built infrastructure on a scale never before attempted. It encouraged commerce across continents. It established standards of administration that influenced later empires, including those of Alexander and Rome. The Persian Empire became a bridge between civilizations. Its influence echoed across centuries. Conclusion: more than 2,500 years have passed since Cyrus the Great united the Persian tribes. His empire grew from a small kingdom into the greatest superpower the world had ever known. It survived legendary kings like Cambyses, Darius, and Xerxes. It fought epic wars against Greece. It built magnificent cities. It connected continents. And although it eventually fell before the genius of Alexander the Great, its ideas never truly disappeared. The roads of Persia inspired future empires. Its administration became a model for rulers across history. Its culture shaped the civilizations that followed. Empires rise, empires fall, but only a few leave a legacy that survives for thousands of years. The Persian Empire was one of them. As the sun sets over the ancient ruins of Persepolis, the silent stone columns still stand against the desert sky. They remind us that power may fade, kingdoms may vanish, but great civilizations are never truly forgotten.